Hello, Calc class. It's Monday, 10/10/16, and I'm investigating the derivative of a quotient, hoping it's the quotient. The derivative of the quotient is the quotient of the derivatives, so I'm hoping it's just f prime of x divided by g prime of x. But the product rule didn't work out that way, so I wouldn't be too shocked if this works out differently. So I'm setting up the limit definition of this expression. So the limit definition of f of x is f of x plus h minus f of x divided by g of x plus h minus g of x, all of that over h, divided by h, divided by h. So the first thing I'm going to do is give myself a like denominator in the numerator. So here's a denominator sitting here. So I'm going to mess with that. So I'm going to give this the denominator gx plus h g of x. And when I do that, this needs a g of x. And this expression here needs a g of x plus h. So g of x plus h will be up here. So just situating the numerator, giving the denominators in the numerator a like denominator. So let me simplify that. These two over the like denominator. So I'm going to get, still the word limit shouldn't drop out. The limit of it as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h times g of x minus, I'm grabbing this now, f of x times g of x plus h, all over in the numerator, the common denominator now, g of x plus h times g of x, all divided by h. Alright, so now I'm going to come in and right in here, I'm going to do a similar thing. I'm going to take an expression and put it in right in there and where the star is. And the expression is going to be minus f of x g of x plus f of x g of x. So that hasn't changed, that won't change the expression because that equals 0. So rewriting the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h times g of x. Now I hit the star, so I'm going to put in my secret weapon, f of x g of x plus f of x g of x. And finish out just the way it was above, all over h. Okay. Hardly fits in the screenshot here. So now by grouping, I'm going to take out a g of x from this set, and from this set I'm going to take out an f of x. So regrouping. I'm missing something. I'm sorry. This part right here is missing. Oh, I don't like that denominator. In the numerator, I'm just going to drop it. I'm just going to put it back in. I'm sure you put it in. Alright, that looks more like it. Let me move this down. Alright, so now I have this. I'll get the whole thing in, maybe. Don't promise anything. Alright. So by grouping, I'm going to pull out a g of x in this section and an f of x in this section. And also, I'm going to move this h because this fraction divided by this fraction causes this one to be multiplied by the reciprocal. So if I multiply this by the reciprocal, 1 over h, and multiply this by 1 over h, it disappears from the bottom, and that h will appear here. So I'm just going to move it over there. All right, now for my razzle-dazzle factoring. All right, so I'm going to take the g of x out of the first two terms, and that leaves me with an f of x plus h minus an f of x. Over here, I'm going to pull out I promised to pull out the f of x, and that leaves a g of x. Let's see. If I pull out the f of x, I get g of x minus g of x plus h. Alright, so what I'm aiming for is I wanted g of x plus h minus g of x. So I'll probably mess with this sign on the next step. And on the bottom, I am going to just rewrite g of x plus h, g of x, and h. Alright, I think I'm up to snuff here. So, now I've been taught that the limit of a sum is the sum of the limits. So I can put the limit over here. I'm going to check on that. And I'm not sure how many minutes I've gone, so I'd rather be under than over. So let me check on my message and be back on part 2 to finish up. So I'll be right back.